Yo, what is going on, guys? My name is Unharmed, and today we are going to be talking about the meaning behind my song Death of Innocence. So this isn't just my song. I actually collaborated with Darin Zane on this song. So Darin Zane did the production and the songwriting, all of that, the guitars, drums, all of that was him. And I did the lyrics and the vocals. This song is a black metal song that we wrote together. And it's pretty funny because Darin Zane and I met because we both did heavy metal guitar remixes on rap songs. But we both shared our love for metal music and we came together and finally put out a metal song together. So this is a black metal song, an atmospheric black metal song, black gaze, kind of like those subgenres of metal, but we definitely made a unique song in my opinion, that I wouldn't even categorize it as just being one of these. You guys could stream the lyric video on his channel. I'll link it in the description, and you can stream it on all streaming platforms. But today, we're really going to be talking about the meaning behind the lyrics. So just before we get started, I do want to mention that this song and this video will touch on very, very heavy themes as far as trauma, abuse, emotions as a survivor of abuse, and just very heavy themes. So just wanted to put that warning out there. If you so choose to exit the video or continue watching, totally understand. Just put yourself first. So there were really three things that inspired this song and the lyrics that I wrote behind it. So the first was a class that I actually took at Harvard University when I was studying as an undergrad. I took this class my senior year, spring of 2023. And I had to pull up my transcript here to get the title of the class. But the class is called Mental Health in Crisis, from War Neurosis to COVID-19. And it was actually taught by Professor Joeli Abi-Rashid. I hope I pronounced that right. But basically, this class talked about the history of trauma. So trauma wasn't really understood until World War I, when American soldiers returned back from Europe and they had a lot of symptoms like recurring nightmares, moments of hysteria and paranoia, and they came back and tried to assimilate back into regular American way of living. But it was very hard for them because they had all of these symptoms and they weren't understood. People didn't really know why. So that was about a century ago when trauma first started being understood, and it was categorized as shell shock or war neurosis, and people thought that those symptoms were only limited to soldiers in combat. But as time passed, as decades, and I mean I guess a century now, we saw those same types of symptoms and behaviors being exhibited from people who experienced other types of trauma as well, as far as experiencing natural disasters, loss of a parent, survivor of abuse. Many different types of events were causing trauma in people, and this kind of understanding of trauma was expanded to not just encompass people who were at war, but just the population as a whole. So that was the first thing that inspired it. The second was this book that I read, I think it was either 2 years ago or 1 year ago, but it was called The Body Keeps the Score. And it is by Bessel Van Der Kolk. And let me just read a bit about the back so you'll understand. Trauma is a fact of life. Veterans and their families deal with the painful aftermath of combat. 1 in 5 Americans have been molested. 1 in 4 grew up with alcoholics, and 1 in 3 couples have engaged in physical violence. So basically, right off the bat, this book is about trauma as a whole, and I think these stats are very surprising, and I don't think many of us would think of that because I think trauma is not very talked about. And this book basically talks about kind of what I was saying, the history of trauma, but it also talks about trauma from a very neurological perspective, how trauma actually affects the brain and the body. That's why it's called The Body Keeps the Score, because the body is basically keeping the effects of trauma, and those effects of trauma do not just remain mental. They manifest themselves in physical sensations, disease, anxiety, nightmares, not being able to sleep, insomnia. You know, it manifests itself in physical ways as well. And I like the book because it talks about trauma very logically, but it also uses case studies from many different types of people that experience different things, and how there are similarities and differences, and how this trauma manifests in their life. So one of the biggest things I want to emphasize in this video is to not really think about the experiences, but really the feelings and the emotions that we're left with as a result of experienced trauma. The third thing that inspired this video is reflecting on my own childhood and the ways that I have experienced trauma. And this song in particular is called Death of Innocence, and it's about a child basically losing their innocence by experiencing abuse from a perpetrator. Now, as I mentioned, I don't really want you to think about the experiences themselves, but the feelings that we're left with. Death of Innocence is a song about a child losing their innocence, and innocence is typically seen as like in a sexual nature. So I think many people would be quick to think about this in the context of sexual abuse, but I want to emphasize that this song has a more of a wider meaning. And I used innocence to describe basically losing innocence at the hands of emotional abuse, could be sexual abuse, physical abuse, many different types of abuse. It doesn't have to just be sexual. There are many different types of ways in which we experience trauma that are underscored. And that's why I don't want to focus on the experiences themselves, just the emotions. So I know I emphasized that, I repeated that a few times, but really wanted to just get that point across. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive deep into the meaning of this song, and we will kind of unpack the stanzas one by one.
Your silhouette still wants me. I was a kid, so sad, so weary. You took my innocence, after I still remember. I won't forget your fucking face.
Right off the bat, the song kind of goes right in. You can tell that the point of view is, well, the narrator, me, is a child, and the person that's being talked to is a perpetrator of some sort. The kid is emphasizing that they were sad, they were pure, they were vulnerable, and at the hands of the perpetrator, they got their innocence robbed from them, and there wasn't remorse. This perpetrator did so effortlessly and took advantage of a vulnerable child. The child says, I still remember, I won't forget your fucking face. So basically, that experiences of trauma are very much imprinted on an individual. And one of the things that the body emphasizes, and the body keeps a score, that even if you kind of just try and drown it out and forget, the trauma will resurface, and oftentimes it manifests physically, like I mentioned. So the kid very much remembers this instance years later, and it will stick with them and has continued to stick with them.
My inner thoughts, I held them in. I swallowed my own emotions. Do you even know the pain you caused? I fucking hate you.
So in this verse, the child admits they had to hold their emotions in, and they didn't talk about it with anybody. They swallowed their own emotions. This is kind of foreshadowing into the future, but they have resentment for doing this because holding it in went on to affect them. Do you even know the pain you caused? So directly asking the perpetrator in their own way, like, do you even fucking know the pain that you caused? I bet you don't, or you don't care because you were laughing. And, you know, I doubt that person is remorseful, is what the narrator is saying.
Suck it up, miss my mind. How do I prevail? The drugs, sex, and violence are what makes me feel real. Trying to live in normality, but it always just feels like a fantasy. All of these thoughts are just creeping and lurking inside. So much noise.
So this is the bridge in the song, and this is my favorite part, not just because of the triplet flow that I did, but because I think it's very raw. To me, I think this is the rawest part of the song. So basically now this person is shifting to a more introspective type of banter, and is saying that, how can I even function in normal life when I have all this shit on my mind? Literally, the only thing that makes me feel real is drugs, sex, and violence, and other types of vices that this person is picking up just to feel something. And I'm gonna go back to this book that is exactly what's talked about. And it's kind of common. It's not everybody, but it's kind of common for people who experience trauma. Is oftentimes, if it's unprocessed, they let out their emotions through vices. So sometimes alcohol, casual sex, drugs, violence, and these vices like drugs, sex, and violence are the only thing that's making that person feel real in this moment. Trying to live in normality, it always just feels like a fantasy. All of these thoughts are just creeping and lurking inside. So much noise. So again, this person is trying to function in society, you know, whether it's school or work, trying to go out and have a good time. But how can they function in normality when this trauma is basically consuming them? That's one of the themes of this lyric and of this song, is that the trauma is consuming them.
Your face, your voice, I can't escape it. I wake up, I cannot breathe, get out of my fucking...
So the next part, and I want to shout out Darin Zane because I had a bit of a writer's block, but he helped me with these lyrics a lot. So and these lyrics came out so good, they fit the song perfectly. This song is very much our song, you know. We kicked ass on this song. I'm gonna just say that real quick. So it's literally perfect with this book, because this book talks about how oftentimes people who experience trauma, they wake up with anxiety and like pounding on their chest. So this lyric is literally, I wake up and I cannot breathe, get the fuck out of my head. And I think this is a very, very real type of emotion that I know I have experienced, and I don't doubt that many others out there have as well.
Everything I love is shattered. All the light crushed under a shadow. I scream, but no one can answer. My mind is spinning, killing me from within. I'm haunted by everything else too.
I think trauma is very hard to unpack, especially when there's such a stigma to talking about your emotions, to seeking therapy. And basically this person is starting to feel helpless because they scream, but no one can answer. Either people don't want to give them the time of day, or they're telling them not to talk about it, to just carry on, stop bitching, just go fucking live life. Being invalidated is a very real thing. And I think the first work has to come from yourself to kind of unpack that you're kind of ready to go ahead and get help and be willing to, and then also surrounding yourself with people who very much know that this is a serious thing and take you serious. My mind is spinning, killing me from within. I'm haunted by everything you stole. So just the recurring theme of it's hard to get this event out of your head. The perpetrator stole a lot. And the survivor is haunted by that.
I gave you everything I had, and now I scream as I drive down the 105. I hit 120.
So this is the closer of the song, and this is kind of the verse that is most like from me. And I tried to make it relatable to me because I talked about the 105 freeway in Los Angeles, which is a freeway that I used to take all the time because it's like in South LA, and it's a very busy freeway. It was right where I grew up, and basically the scene ends with the narrator driving at 120 miles per hour down the 105 screaming. So this is another type of vice, you know, engaging in reckless behavior. Going 120 on a freeway is reckless behavior, and it's putting yourself at risk. And the closer doesn't have any type of like resolvement. It just kind of ends like this, and ends with the fact that there is still reckless behavior going on. And yeah, I basically mentioned that because I wanted to shout out the 105. I wanted to shout out LA. So shout out LA. But yeah, that's kind of it for the main lyrical themes of this song. Like I mentioned, very heavy. So please give yourself time to think about it, relax a little bit, lean on your friends and your support system, I know that helped me a ton, leaning on my mom, leaning on my aunt, my friends, you know, my girlfriend. So many people have been a support system for me, and I feel like I would not be where I was at if it wasn't because of these people. And that's another thing that this book talks about, you know, having a support system. Main takeaways are this song is I hope you got to a point where you reflected a little bit. I hope I was able to relate to you, at least in some type of way. Again, it doesn't really matter what type of experiences that we went through. It's more so the feelings that we're left with. And in this song, it's basically anger, rage, dealing with vices, dealing with recklessness, engaging in reckless behavior, trying to process this through rage. I would say, you know, it's a big fuck you song. And to me, this was a big fuck you song, and it's me reclaiming my feelings as to how, you know, certain situations have left me feeling. And I think that's a beautiful thing about art, is that we get to tell the story in our way. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you guys made it all the way here. Let me know what you guys think. You know, leave a comment or DM me, you know, message me. I'm pretty responsive to messages and emails and stuff like that. And go check out Darin Zane. The video is on his YouTube channel, the lyric video. And go ahead and check out his other music as well. He makes kick-ass music. And yeah, thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys. Peace.